What if I told you that the beverage sitting in your kitchen cabinet right now might be doing more for your heart than half the products in the pharmacy aisle? Most people have no idea that while cardiologists write prescriptions and pharmaceutical companies chase patents, cultures across the globe have been steeping specific plants in hot water for thousands of years to protect the very organ that keeps them alive. This isn't folklore dressed up as medicine. This is medicine that predates the microscope. And modern cardiology, with all its double-blind trials and peer-reviewed journals, keeps arriving at the same conclusion the healers of West Africa, ancient Persia, and the European Alps arrived at centuries ago. And today, I'm going to show you 11 of these teas, the ones with real clinical research behind them, that can genuinely support the health of your heart. Stick around, because number 10 on this list is a tart red tea from West Africa that clinical trials show lowers blood pressure by almost as much as some prescription medications. And number 11, the one I'm saving for the very end, was called the heart herb by physicians on 3 different continents centuries before anyone understood what a cardiologist even was, and it's still being studied in heart failure clinics today. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, because we post new videos every week that connect ancient wisdom with modern health knowledge, empowering you to take charge of your healing. So, let's get into it. Here are 11 herbal teas that improve heart health, ranked from remarkable to absolutely essential. Number 1. Dandelion tea. Let's start with the plant everyone spends their weekends trying to kill. Dandelion, Taraxacum officinale, has been used across European and Chinese herbal traditions for centuries. Not as a nuisance, but as a cleansing tonic, brewed from the root and leaf to support the liver, the kidneys, and the fluid balance that keeps blood pressure in check. Traditional healers prescribed it as a gentle diuretic, a way to help the body release excess water and sodium naturally, long before pharmaceutical diuretics existed. Modern research is only beginning to catch up, but what it's found is promising. A small human trial, published in the Journal of Alternative and Complementary Medicine, measured the diuretic effect of dandelion leaf extract in real time and confirmed that it does increase urine output within hours of consumption, lending scientific weight to centuries of traditional use. Separate laboratory research published in the International Journal of Molecular Sciences found that dandelion root and leaf improved cholesterol markers and antioxidant activity in animal models fed a high cholesterol diet, though large-scale human cardiovascular trials are still lacking. The mechanism is refreshingly simple. Excess sodium and fluid volume place direct mechanical strain on the arteries and the heart, encourage the kidneys to release that excess, and pressure eases. To prepare it, steep 1 to 2 teaspoons of dried dandelion root or leaf in hot water for 10 minutes, and drink it in the morning, when its mild diuretic action is easiest to work around. Dandelion got dismissed as a lawn pest simply because it grows everywhere for free. But the most overlooked plants are often the ones sitting closest to us, waiting to be taken seriously again. Number 2. Astragalus tea, the ancient qi tonic for a tired heart. In traditional Chinese medicine, astragalus root, known as huang qi, has been used for over 2,000 years to build what practitioners call qi, the body's vital energy, and few organs depend on steady energy more than the heart. Astragalus was traditionally brewed as a daily tonic for fatigue, weakness, and poor circulation, the very symptoms that modern medicine now associates with early heart failure. Modern cardiology has taken a genuine interest. A systematic review published in the journal Medicine examined randomized controlled trials of astragalus preparations used alongside conventional treatment in patients recovering from acute heart attacks, evaluating outcomes like ejection fraction and heart remodeling. A more recent systematic review and meta-analysis in Frontiers in Pharmacology specifically assessed astragalus membranaceus for its effect on left ventricular remodeling in patients with reduced ejection fraction, a hallmark of heart failure, finding encouraging structural improvements when used as an adjunct to standard care. The proposed mechanism involves active compounds like astragaloside and calicosin, which appear to calm inflammatory signaling in stressed heart muscle cells and support healthier cardiac energy metabolism. To prepare it, simmer several slices of dried astragalus root in water for 15 to 20 minutes, a traditional decoction method that draws out its deeper compounds more effectively than a quick steep. It's worth being clear that astragalus is studied as a complement to conventional heart failure treatment, not a replacement for it. Astragalus offers what Chinese physicians recognized long before echocardiograms existed, that a heart low on energy needs to be gently rebuilt, not just treated. Number 3. Ginkgo biloba tea, the living fossil for your circulation. Ginkgo biloba is the oldest living tree species on Earth, virtually unchanged for over 200 million years, and traditional Chinese medicine has used its leaves for centuries to move stagnant blood and sharpen circulation to the extremities and the brain. This is genuinely one of the more nuanced entries on this list, and it deserves an honest look rather than a sales pitch. The large-scale ginkgo evaluation of memory study, published in Circulation Cardiovascular Quality and Outcomes, followed over 3,000 older adults for 6 years and found no reduction in heart attacks, strokes, or cardiovascular deaths compared to placebo. But a separate meta-analysis published in the American Journal of Medicine, pooling multiple randomized trials in patients with intermittent claudication, a painful circulation disorder affecting the legs, found that ginkgo modestly but measurably increased pain-free walking distance compared to placebo. The proposed mechanism is increased nitric oxide availability in the blood vessel lining, which allows blood vessels to relax and dilate more effectively. To prepare it, steep 1 teaspoon of dried ginkgo leaf in hot water for 8 to 10 minutes. The honest takeaway is this: ginkgo won't prevent a heart attack, but for the specific problem of poor peripheral circulation that traditional healers first identified, modern research has found something real. Sometimes the most trustworthy medicine is the kind that admits its own limits. Number 4. Rooibos tea. Rooibos, or red bush, grows only in a small region of South Africa's Cederberg Mountains, and the indigenous Khoisan people have brewed its needle-like leaves into tea for generations, prized for its naturally sweet flavor and its calming, caffeine-free nature. It was never treated as medicine in the dramatic sense. It was simply what people drank every day, which, as it turns out, may be exactly why it works. A landmark human study, published in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology, gave adults at risk for cardiovascular disease 6 cups of traditional fermented rooibos daily for 6 weeks, and found significant improvements in their lipid profile alongside markers of oxidative stress, both directly relevant to heart disease risk. A broader scoping review of human rooibos studies confirmed that regular consumption is consistently associated with improved lipid profiles and elevated antioxidant status across both healthy people and those with existing risk factors. Rooibos is rich in a unique flavonoid called asparlathin, along with quercetin, compounds thought to reduce the oxidation of LDL cholesterol, the process that turns ordinary cholesterol into the sticky, artery-damaging kind. To prepare it, steep 1 tea bag or a teaspoon of loose rooibos in boiling water for 5 to 7 minutes. It grows more flavorful the longer it steeps, and unlike black or green tea, it won't turn bitter. Rooibos proves that the most protective habits aren't always dramatic interventions. Sometimes they're just what you drink every single afternoon. Number 5. Cinnamon tea, the spice that steadies your metabolism. Cinnamon has been treasured since antiquity, so valuable that ancient traders guarded its origins as a closely held secret, and traditional Ayurvedic and Middle Eastern medicine have long used it to warm the body and support digestion and circulation. What those traditions couldn't have known is that cinnamon does something remarkably specific to the cardiovascular risk factors that matter most today. A comprehensive dose-response meta-analysis published this year, pooling 49 randomized controlled trials and over 3,000 participants, found that cinnamon supplementation meaningfully improved blood pressure, cholesterol markers, blood sugar control, and inflammatory markers like CRP in adults, with the strongest effects at doses above 1.5 grams daily. A separate meta-analysis focused specifically on lipid profiles found that cinnamon significantly reduced triglycerides, particularly at lower daily doses. The mechanism appears to run through cinnamaldehyde, the compound responsible for cinnamon's signature flavor, which improves insulin sensitivity and reduces the low-grade inflammation that quietly damages blood vessels over years. To prepare it, simmer 1 true Ceylon cinnamon stick in water for 10 minutes, rather than using powdered cassia cinnamon in large amounts, since Ceylon contains far less coumarin, a compound that can stress the liver at high doses. Cinnamon reminds us that the spices we treat as flavor alone were once treated as medicine first, and the research is quietly proving our ancestors right. Number 6. Olive leaf tea, the Mediterranean secret hiding in plain sight. While olive oil gets all the attention, Mediterranean healers have long brewed tea from the tree's silvery leaves as well, using it as a folk remedy for fever, fatigue, and what they simply described as weakness of the heart. The leaves contain oleuropein, a bitter compound at far higher concentrations than the oil itself, and modern trials have taken this traditional use seriously. A randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled crossover trial published in the European Journal of Nutrition gave adults with elevated blood pressure a phenolic-rich olive leaf extract for 6 weeks and found significant reductions in both systolic and diastolic blood pressure, alongside meaningful drops in total cholesterol and triglycerides, compared to a polyphenol-free control. A systematic review and meta-analysis pooling multiple such trials confirmed these cardiometabolic benefits, finding the strongest blood pressure and lipid improvements, specifically in participants who already had hypertension. Oleuropein appears to work in 2 ways at once, relaxing blood vessels the way a mild ACE inhibitor does, while simultaneously acting as a potent antioxidant that protects LDL cholesterol from the oxidative damage that makes it dangerous. To prepare it, steep a small handful of dried olive leaves in hot water for 10 to 15 minutes. The flavor is bitter, almost like a delicate green tea, and can be softened with a little honey. Olive leaf tea is proof that we've been so focused on the fruit of this ancient tree that we forgot to look at what the leaves themselves were trying to tell us. Number 7. Turmeric tea. Turmeric has colored Ayurvedic medicine for over 4,000 years, used ceremonially and medicinally as a warming, purifying root, believed to move stagnant blood and calm internal heat, a description that sounds remarkably close to what modern doctors now call chronic vascular inflammation. Inflammation is increasingly understood as a silent driver of heart disease, quietly damaging the delicate inner lining of blood vessels for years before any symptom appears. A comprehensive dose-response meta-analysis published in Clinical Nutrition ESPN, pooling 21 separate meta-analyses of randomized controlled trials, found that curcumin supplementation significantly reduced blood pressure and inflammatory markers like CRP, while measurably improving flow-mediated dilation, a direct clinical test of how well blood vessels relax and function. A separate randomized double-blind trial in healthy young adults found that a 200 mg dose of a bioavailable curcumin form produced a clinically meaningful improvement in that same flow-mediated dilation measurement within just 8 weeks. The mechanism centers on curcumin's ability to switch off inflammatory signaling pathways inside blood vessel walls, essentially letting the arteries breathe again. To prepare it, simmer 1 teaspoon of turmeric powder, or fresh grated root, in water for 10 minutes, with a pinch of black pepper, since the piperine in black pepper dramatically absorbs. Turmeric shows us that the golden root revered in temples for millennia was never just about color or ceremony. It was about the fire inside the blood vessels that ancient healers could sense long before anyone could measure it. Number 8. Garlic tea. The pungent bulb that Egyptian workers swore by. When laborers built the pyramids, historical records describe them being partially paid in garlic rations to maintain their strength and endurance. And across nearly every ancient medical tradition, from Egypt to Rome to traditional Chinese medicine, garlic was treated as one of the most important protective foods available. Modern cardiovascular research has validated this more thoroughly than almost any other herb on this list. An updated meta-analysis published in the Journal of Nutrition, pooling 20 separate randomized controlled trials, found that garlic supplements significantly lowered systolic blood pressure by an average of over 5 points, and diastolic pressure by more than 2.5 points, compared to placebo, with the strongest effects concentrated in people who already had hypertension. A separate meta-analysis in PMC, pooling 17 trials, confirmed a similarly significant reduction in both systolic and diastolic blood pressure across participants. The active compound, allicin, is only formed when garlic is crushed or chopped, triggering a chemical reaction that produces a broad-spectrum vasodilator capable of relaxing blood vessel walls and thinning the blood's tendency to clot. To prepare it, crush 1 to 2 fresh garlic cloves and let them sit for 10 minutes before adding them to hot water, since crushing and waiting allows the allicin-forming reaction to fully complete before heat can interfere with it. Steep for 5 minutes and add lemon and honey to soften the taste. Garlic proves that the foods our ancestors valued enough to pay workers in weren't valued by accident. Number 9. Ginger tea. The warming root that eases arterial stiffness. Ginger has traveled the ancient spice roads from Southeast Asia to nearly every traditional medicine system on Earth, prized as a warming root that traditional healers believed moved blood more freely through the body and eased what they called cold, sluggish circulation. That description turns out to be strikingly close to what modern researchers now call arterial stiffness, a measurable decline in how flexible and responsive blood vessels are with age. A randomized controlled trial published this year investigated ORAC-rich ginger tea in hypertensive patients and found significant reductions in both systolic and diastolic blood pressure over the study period, alongside improvements in total cholesterol, LDL, and HDL levels, and a measurable improvement in pulse wave velocity, a direct clinical measure of arterial stiffness and flexibility. A broader review of ginger's cardiovascular effects, examining its anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and antihypertensive properties across multiple studies, concluded that its bioactive gingerol and shogol compounds show genuine promise for improving blood lipid profiles and vascular health, while calling for continued research to confirm optimal dosing. The proposed mechanism involves gingerol's ability to block calcium channels in blood vessel walls, a similar action to some prescription blood pressure medications, allowing vessels to relax more fully. To prepare it, simmer several thin slices of fresh ginger root in water for 10 to 15 minutes. The longer it simmers, the more pronounced both the warmth and the potency become. Ginger reminds us that the sensation ancient healers described as warming blood wasn't poetry. It was observation, centuries ahead of the equipment needed to prove it. Number 10. Hibiscus tea. The tart red tea that rivals blood pressure medication. Across West Africa, the Caribbean, and the Middle East, hibiscus has been steeped into a deep red, cranberry tart tea for generations, known by names like sour tea, carcade, and bissap, served both as a refreshing daily drink and as a specific folk remedy for what elders simply called high blood. This is the tea I teased at the very beginning, and the research behind it is genuinely remarkable. A comprehensive umbrella review and dose-response meta-analysis published in 2025, pooling 26 randomized controlled trials involving nearly 1,800 participants, found that hibiscus reduced both systolic and diastolic blood pressure in a dose-dependent way, with no significant difference between hibiscus and standard antihypertensive medications in several of the included trials, alongside meaningful improvements in cholesterol and blood sugar. A separate systematic review and meta-analysis focused specifically on sour tea found significant reductions in both blood pressure and fasting blood glucose across 7 controlled trials. The mechanism appears to involve hibiscus acting as a natural, mild AC inhibitor, the same class of mechanism used by many prescription blood pressure drugs, while its deep red anthocyanin pigments simultaneously fight the oxidative stress that damages artery walls over time. To prepare it, steep 2 tablespoons of dried hibiscus calices in hot water for 5 to 10 minutes. It's naturally tart, closer to cranberry than to typical tea, and can be sweetened lightly or served cold over ice. Hibiscus is the tea that proves the line between traditional remedy and modern medicine isn't nearly as wide as we've been taught to believe. Number 11. Hawthorn tea, the original heart herb. And here we are, at the plant I saved for last, because it may be the single most historically significant tea on this entire list. Hawthorn has been called the heart herb by traditional healers in Europe, by practitioners of traditional Chinese medicine, and by Native American herbalists, 3 continents that never exchanged a single recipe, all independently arriving at the same conclusion about the same small red berry and its leaves. That kind of convergence rarely happens by accident. A landmark Cochrane meta-analysis pooling 14 double-blind, placebo-controlled randomized trials found that hawthorn extract produced meaningful improvements in heart failure symptoms, exercise tolerance, and the pressure heart rate product, a direct measure of how hard the heart is working when compared with placebo. But intellectual honesty matters here, and the full picture deserves to be told. A more rigorous trial conducted at the University of Michigan, published in the European Journal of Heart Failure, added hawthorn on top of modern, fully optimized heart failure medication and found no additional improvement in walking distance or quality of life beyond what the standard drugs already provided. What this actually tells us is important. Hawthorn's benefits were most clearly demonstrated in earlier eras of heart failure treatment, before today's advanced medications existed, and today it's best understood as a traditional supportive tea rather than a substitute for modern cardiac care. The proposed mechanism involves flavonoids and procyanidins that support nitric oxide-driven vasodilation and gently strengthen the force of the heart's contraction. To prepare it, simmer a tablespoon of dried hawthorn berries and leaves in water for 15 minutes, the traditional method that draws out its deeper, tannic compounds. Hawthorn is the tea that closes this list, because it represents everything we've talked about today. Ancient healers reaching the same conclusion independently, modern medicine confirming part of it, and modern medicine humbly refining the rest. That's not a weakness in traditional wisdom. That's exactly how real knowledge is supposed to grow. 11 teas, thousands of years of accumulated observation, and now, genuine modern clinical research standing behind nearly every single one of them. Here's what I want you to take away from today's video. None of these teas are a replacement for the blood pressure medication your doctor prescribed, or the cardiologist monitoring your heart. But they represent something powerful nonetheless. Simple, accessible, daily habits that traditional healers identified through careful observation long before anyone had a stethoscope, and that modern science, with all its randomized trials and peer review, keeps circling back to confirm. The heart doesn't need a miracle. It needs consistent, gentle support. The kind that comes from a cup of tea steeped the same way, at the same time, day after day, the way it's been done for centuries. If this video changed the way you think about the tea in your cupboard, smash that like button. It genuinely helps this video reach more people searching for real answers about their heart health. Drop a comment and tell me which tea surprised you the most. Are you Team Hibiscus, Team Hawthorn, or Team Garlic? I read every single comment. And if you haven't subscribed to Home Service yet, hit that button and ring the bell so you never miss a video. We're connecting ancient wisdom with modern science, one cup at a time, and I'd love to have you on this journey with us.